Prices have slowed down quite slightly in the past 9 months, and this according to Bloomberg's Shisa Nyama index. Now, this supported the central bank's decision to hold interest rates quite steady with the decline of inflation. In June, South Africa's annual food inflation dropped to 11.1%, though, from 1% in the previous month. And then the overall price increase eased from 6.3% to 5.4%. Mervin Abrahams is from the Economic Justice and Dignity Group in Pietermaritzburg. He joins us from the KwaZulu-Natal capital this morning for more on the pace, I suppose, we're seeing when it comes to food prices. And Mervin, a very warm good morning to you. How would you rate that pace in terms of South Africa's overall food inflation?
So good morning to Melo, and good morning to all your viewers. So what we have seen is in certain foods, we have seen a decline over the last 9 months. And it's that decline that we have seen in particularly in meat prices, that the Shisa Nyama index is picking up. Let's remember the Shisa Nyama index uses the Pietermaritzburg Economic Justice and Dignity Household Affordability Index data, but they only look at 14 out of the 44 foods. So when we look at, for instance, meat prices, we have seen that beef prices has come down by about 5% year on year. We have seen wors coming down by about 1% year on year. Chicken prices has increased, but very, very slightly. So we've seen a stability in chicken prices. But Melo, when we look at some of the other foods, so for instance, vegetables, then there is a different picture. And also when we look at cereals, then there is also a different picture emerging as regard to food prices.
When we look at cooking oil, I mean, cooking oil as a food item has been a bone of contention for quite some time in terms of some of the high costs and prices we've seen. How is it faring at the moment?
So with regard to cooking oil, Melo, you're absolutely correct. Last year, this time, 5 liters of cooking oil would have cost you something in the region of 230 Rand. This month, or at least in July, our figures show that that has come down to about 163 Rand and 75 cents. So that's a decline of almost 30% in the price of cooking oil. And that really is a good news story in terms of food prices coming down. And with the cooking oil price coming down so significantly, it has brought down, for instance, a basket of food like the Shisa Nyama index basket.
Yeah, it's always good to have these figures, but also in context, in terms of, Mervin, what's happening around the world that informs the decreases that we're seeing. What would you say are some of the macroeconomic factors here that inform the prices we're seeing in our food right now?
So let's take cooking oil, for instance. So we have seen that there is a greater supply of sunflower oil globally. The Ukraine is again exporting sunflower oil, so that's bringing the prices down. Globally, we've seen maize price come down as well, although we haven't seen it in South Africa. A 30 kg of maize is still about 14% more expensive this year than it was last year. So we have seen global prices coming down, Melo. Local prices are stickingly high. And it seems to us there are specific South African factors that are influencing our food prices. And of course, 2 of the most critical impacts. Number 1 is the instability of electricity. And number 2, fuel price and logistics. Now, we are seeing at the moment that farmers are trying to move from Eskom to solar. We are seeing that producers are trying to move to solar or spending lots and lots of money on diesel in order to keep the refrigeration going. And some of those costs are now passed on to the consumer. And that is why food prices in South Africa remain stubbornly high in comparison to some other countries around the world.
Yeah. And when we take all those factors into consideration, Mervin, and there is, someone watching our conversation right now, or even a food vendor wondering how long will we see these prices fall, the decrease in food prices fall, in as far as the Shisa Nyama index is concerned. Are we able to gauge that at the moment? How long we'll see this decline and decrease fall?
So that's difficult to forespell at this moment, precisely because we don't know the impact of electricity on the food system. And secondly, of course, we're expecting an increase in fuel prices next month. So that will also have a little bit of an impact on food prices. But then there is also seasonality to Melo. So it's not unheard of that meat prices decrease during winter because farmers tend to take their cattle for slaughter at the end of summer. And then during summer, meat prices increase. And during winter, vegetable prices increase because, of course, we don't have the rainy season. So, and then in the summer, those vegetable prices decrease again. So there's a lot of volatility in food prices. And so we will have to see going forward what these impacts would be.
Absolutely, Mervin, and thank you so much for speaking to me about this, because with this background, then consumers and even food vendors alike are able to make informed decisions moving forward, just tracking down the volatility, the different seasons, as well as the factors that may, of course, contribute to seeing an upward trend, an increase or even a decrease in our food prices. Mervin Abrahams from the Pietermaritzburg Economic Justice